All right, well, good to be with everybody here. Got a little bit of a different week, obviously, with this in our mindset is a kind of a Tuesday-type prep, but it's exciting. But first of all, I know we've had another bad hurricane come through down in Florida, and just, really, I know there's a lot of people affected by that. We've got families and recruits and things like that impacted, so definitely thinking about them and keeping them in our thoughts and prayers. But just want to remember everyone down there in Florida that was affected by the hurricane. But it is game week for us here, and we're super excited. Finally, it's just you never have this much time to get ready to play a game, so it's awesome to be able to finally get here, even though, again, it's just kind of Tuesday for us. We have to kind of temper our enthusiasm a little bit because we still got some work to do from a prep standpoint. But I'm just excited to see us play. That's the biggest thing. I'm excited to see us go play somebody, see where we're at, and listen. This is Duke is it's a really good football team coming off a great year. Got a ton of respect for Coach Elko. It's an incredibly well-coached team, and a tough opener. And those of you who've been around here, y'all heard me say many times, openers are probably the hardest game. I don't really care who you play because there's just so many unknowns, especially in today's world of college football. There's so many unknowns, whether it be coaching changes or personnel or whatever. So you have to spend time watching other people. Maybe it's a transfer that came in, so you got trying to figure this guy out. So you're watching tape that's really not relevant to a game plan standpoint, but you just got to you're trying to figure out who you're playing, or it's a coaching change or whatever, or just young players moving up. So there's always a lot, and then just a lot of time to get ready. And then you haven't played football. We don't get. You'd feel a lot better if you were coming off a couple preseason games, right, where you had a much better feel for your own team in a game situation. So definitely a tough opener. And then you throw in the fact it's on the road and it's a conference game. So this is a huge opportunity for both teams, within our league. And then, again, you throw in the fact that you're playing a very, very good team that lost 4 games last year, I think, by 14 total points. And so this is a good football team, every sense of the word, and probably the biggest thing you would say is there's experience. They got thousands of snaps of football under their belt across the board, especially when you look at them defensively. They got 19 starters back combined, but even the guys backups have played a lot of snaps. So this is an incredibly experienced team, and we're an experienced team. So it's 2 really experienced teams going at it in a conference game on the road, Monday night, Labor Day, different kind of routine and schedule. So it's going to be a lot of fun to be a part of it. And again, just looking forward to seeing us open this thing up. And we really have one goal, that's to win the opener. Always has been. I guess this is my 15th year now, and we've not had a championship team that didn't win the opener. So it's an important game. And if you look at the history of Clemson, I think there's 27 conference championship teams here. And I think it's like 24-2-1. Those championship teams, they won the opener. So it's a big game. That's why it's a goal of its own. You don't win the world title or lose the world title in one game, but it's a very, very important goal for us, and always has been. And so excited to see us go compete.
You've gone against Coach Elko's defenses, going back to his time at Texas A&M and Wake before that. Just year 2 for him, so he's still getting his personnel and all that. But what are some common characteristics of his defenses in the past?
Rarely beat themselves. When you watch, you just keep watching the tape. Rarely is somebody out of position. They rarely give up a big play bust. Where somebody's just absolutely, you know it when you see it, right? Sometimes everybody make plays. Football's football, but rarely do they beat themselves. Very, very smart, very well coached. Their eyes are always where they need to be, and just a fundamentally sound group, always has been. And I think if you really look at his track record and his background, even before Wake, that characteristic has always shown up. A new coordinator was with him at Wake and came over from A&M as well. But just a defense that plays hard, plays smart, and you have to finish against this group. You got to put drives together, and you have to finish, and then they take the ball away at an alarmingly high rate. Led the nation last year in fumble recoveries and second in turnover margin. So they did a good job of taking care of the ball on offense, and they did an amazing job of creating turnovers. So again, I think a lot of that is coached. They do a really, really good job, and they buy into it. And again, they use their personnel in a very, very good way. And you get in some third and longs on these guys, you'll see some exotic type stuff. So well coached group.
How much harder does it make it for any defense when you have a quarterback who can do so much with his legs, efficient to
Yeah, that's why the game has changed so much, because, I remember when I first started going here, when I hired Chad back in 2011, the conversation was you're never going to win, with a quarterback that's, you're running your quarterback or whatever, and your defense ain't going to be good because of, style of play and all that stuff. And now here we are going, 14 years later and turn on the NFL. And you're not going to win if you got a quarterback can't move. Just not. You have to have there's not many Tom Brady's left out there, that's just going to sit there and, have the ability to beat you with his mind only and his arm talent. It's a game of space, and you have to, and it's not like you're, now some teams have different philosophies in the way they go about doing things. I'm not talking about, lining up, running quarterback power, 10 times a game. I'm talking about being able to extend plays, create in space, and create space for your receivers by extending, whether it's resetting in the pocket, whether it's up and out, or it's moving the launch point, whatever it is. And then when people try to play coverage, being able to keep your offense on schedule, taking those 5 yards, take those 6 yards, and it's a problem. And if you look around the best offenses in the country and the best offenses in the NFL, that's what you see. You see a quarterback who can throw the football, but he's smart, and he can, again, create, extend, and keep his offense on schedule by, okay, this is what you're giving me, I'll take that. And so that's a problem. And this guy, I didn't know much about him, honestly, until last year, and certainly when we started studying him to get ready to play for him. But, man, he's a really good football player. This guy's a problem. A lot of people, I think of him, because he's the leading rusher, leading attempts and leading touchdown guy. But he's a very accurate thrower. He is he's a 63-4% guy, but he's incredible. He can make all the throws. He's got an incredibly veteran group of receivers that are really talented. They're all shifty and quick and, good runners with the ball after the catch. A couple big tight ends, some big old hogs up front that are well coached, led by that left tackle they got, three backs. This is a complete group, but he makes them go because he's a problem. You cover everybody up, and next thing you know, here he goes. Whether it's just off-schedule play, and if you really watch them, some of their biggest plays came off of off-schedule plays. And so he's a really, really fast dude, and when he gets in space, he can leave you. He can run away from you. So, and he's big and he's strong, so he can break tackles, and it puts a lot of pressure. All can look great on the board, but he's a guy that's hard to get down. They were fewest in sacks last year in our league, and one of the fewest in the country. So, they got a good scheme. The ball comes out quick. He doesn't hold it long, and he's hard to tackle when you do get a hold of him.
Is it a good thing for your defensive secondary to get a test this early?
Absolutely. I think we need to we need to see where we are. I mean, I think we're a really experienced team. I mean, this is one of the more experienced groups that we've had. I think we're built in the trenches on both sides. I mean, we're excited about what we have there. But they're going to get tested because this is a really good group of receivers, very experienced, going against an experienced group of DBs that have played a lot of football and have kind of had their battles as well. So, yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for us, to see where we are as a team and no matter what happens in the game, how we go get better. It's a long season ahead. So this is definitely a big challenge, because it's a complete team, running game, passing game, quarterback, OL.
Kyle Brown backing up Antonio in the slot and also back up on returns. What have you seen from him in camp that gives you such confidence in him?
He's just a really good football player. I mean, he can really run. Surprised in that just hadn't, because you haven't coached him yet. You see the skill and all that, but just how quickly he's been able to pick things up. And he's got really, really good ball skills, strong hands. He's a great finisher, after the catch. He's got some compact power to him, which I didn't really expect that this early from him. But he plays bigger than he is. Plays with some length, plays with extension. Which I didn't really, again, he's not a big guy, but he plays a lot bigger than he is. But he's done a great job. He and Tink have really shown that they could help us, and we're trying to hold Tink if we can. We'll see how it all works out. But he's ready to play too. I mean, but there's just only so many snaps, and where we are right now with Antonio. So, all those guys are going to play. How much they play will determine the course of the season. But Tyler just kind of, has competed with everybody out there. I mean, he's competed with Antonio. He's competed with everybody. I mean, as he's really got. And here's a kid that came in the summer. So, just a natural football player that I think he's got a really bright future for us.
Coach Riley called him yesterday fearless. Is
Yeah.
that what you see from him, and does that make you feel comfortable with him on the road as a true freshman in his first game?
Yeah, I mean, again, you got to go play, but what we've seen in practice, I mean, you still got to have some. You're going against some dudes in practice here too. So it's not like he's going against chopped liver every day, and he's had a fearless approach to it, all camp, and he never really hit the wall. He just, which was unusual for a freshman as well. I mean, he's got a lot of joy to him. He's got a great spirit, and he's just got a little air of confidence, and he's got an unbelievable competitive fire to him. But definitely a fearless football player.
What are you most proud of your group coming out of fall camp? Is there anything that surprised you or is making you extra excited about this group with their own unique identity that they've created?
Just how they showed up every day. I mean, honestly, I think we had one bad day, out of the whole, camp. I think we had one day where I didn't feel like, it was what it needed to be. And those are, where it had to be kind of coach-led. And I'm happy to do that if I need to. But in some teams, you have to do that more than others, and that's just part of it. That's part of coaching is kind of figuring out, what you got to do to get this team to where they need to be. But these guys showed up every day, and they had a great, spirit to them. They had a great focus every day, and it was a very competitive camp, and I didn't see. I thought they had a lot of fun. I didn't really see anybody really hit the wall, with that. There were some young guys and stuff, but those older guys, and again, that's not that camp. In fact, I think we were about 20% more than maybe what we've been since about 2017 as far as how we track all that stuff from a load standpoint. But these guys really, man, they showed up every day and battled. And it's a close group. So, I like where we are. I mean, you got to go play the game, but I think coming out of camp, the thing I'm probably most proud of is I see a team, and that's camp is where that has to really gel. And I think this team's got good chemistry. And you know, if they'll go play like they've practiced, we got a chance to be a good football team.
What are you most excited about Monday night, seeing for I know there's things that you think you know, but what are you most excited, like, I can't wait to actually have that unfold in front of me?
You know, I want to see our offensive line. You know, I think these guys, I mean, they're excited to go play, and I want us to win, you know, because of them. And I hope that's what I see. I'm excited to see these guys play. These guys have put in a lot of work. It's a tough group. You know, they're a close group. We've got some depth. We've got some guys that deserve to play, and you know, I think expectations are high for our defensive line, as they should be, and I certainly want to see them be them, but I don't think people expect much from our OL for whatever reason. You know, I'm excited to see these guys go play.
Dabo, you only get one first impression. How do you hope this team impresses on night one?
Well, it looked like we've been in a month of camp. You know, let's look like we've practiced. You know, the openers are, again, you know, you're going to have some mistakes and things like that, but just play, you know, a clean game in where you don't lose to Clemson. You know, just stupid turnovers. You know, stupid plays in special teams. You know, crazy after the whistle type penalties. You know, just simple, you know, delays of game. Those type of things is what you hope you don't see. You know, I just want us to be a team that looks confident, a team that looks together, a team that plays fast, plays tough, plays physical. And you know, if we can do that, then you can live whatever result you get.
Lee and Sadler as co-stars at left tackle, just your evaluation of that spot. And Garrett mentioned they might both play.
Oh, yeah,
Both at that same
yeah.
position or across the line.
Yeah, well, they can. We've got some position flexibility within our line, but both those guys will certainly play. Both have earned it. You know, I think we have 7 starters in the offensive line, but I think they're going to only let us run 5 out there. If we could run 7 out, we would. But we really see Colin and Mitchell Mays as starters. I mean, that's just how we see it. And, you know, I look at Maffa and Shipley as starters. You know, we could run 2 of them out there together, but, you know, that means we got one of those receivers are out, right? Or tight ends out, whatever the personnel is. So, you know, we have, for the first time in a few years, we've got really good depth. But I see those 7 guys as starters, and again, I think we got 8, 9, 10 that should play, can play, and will play. And then the competition goes from there. We've kind of taken things as far as we can go in practice. Now you got to go to the games, and the competition continues, and you let guys continue to compete and play, and hopefully they both play well and you keep rolling. But we've got some really good. I think we got 6 tackles on this group, on this team that can play winning football for us. 6 legit tackles that give us the ability to play at a high level. And you know, so I'm excited about the group, but it'll start there with Tristan and Colin, and they'll definitely both play. And you know, hopefully, my expectations they're both going to play really well. That's what I've seen in practice. That's why they're listed the way they are.
Tristan is a guy that showed up 5-star, but not really in shape to play. COVID had hurt him in high school, but his teammates say that nobody works harder. What have you seen out of him that allowed him to kind of not only transform his body, but just keep his head down and work and not pout and sulk?
Humility and self-awareness. You know, that's usually you don't see that a lot when you're maybe dealing with a 5-star recruit that's been told how great he is for his whole life, and they, you know, a lot of times they've by far been the best player wherever they are, and then you show up and next thing you know they forget that, you know, they got to work, and it's different. But Tristan, you know, his situation is unique because he obviously didn't have a season, and he's a big guy, And he, you know, when you watch the tape and him coming out of high school, it's easy to see why he was rated so high and all those things. But that wasn't the guy that showed up here. I thought somebody had kidnapped that guy. I went back and watched the tape myself. Like, what did I miss here? What in the world? You know, how could I be so wrong? You know, that was kind of my mindset initially. Like, this guy may never play. You know, because he was so far from being able to play. He physically was not, he was weak. His body was in a bad spot. And I think mentally he wasn't where he needed to be. And it was obvious, like, from the moment he got here, like, oh boy. And Linthicum wasn't much better. But again, another guy didn't get to play football. And, you know, you don't get better at football not playing football. You know, this, especially when you're a big guy. And so, but to his credit, he was a kid early on that did not run from that. Like, you have to coach Tristan Leigh. Like, he wants to be coached. He wants feedback or criticism or whatever. He really wants that. And early on, it was like, man, wow. I mean, honestly, my mindset was, man, I don't know how we missed like this, because he just physically couldn't do what we needed him to do, and he didn't look like he looked on tape. But I think his confidence wasn't what it needed to be. But to his credit, that kid went to work, and he had complete self-awareness. Like, he saw it. Like, everything we said, we're like, yep, you're exactly right. But you know what? So what are you going to do about it? And, man, that kid, okay, you're not very strong. Well, now he's strong. Your body's not in a very good spot. Now he's elite. He's really and he's not even as good as he's going to be. You know, he's just a redshirt sophomore. He's played like 70 snaps, you know. So, you know, he's a work in progress. And then he's got to learn the game. Man, this guy's a sponge. And his effort's always been phenomenal. But I watched that kid. I mean, he'd be out there early. He would be out there after practice and get no reps, and he'd be running. He'd do whatever he needed to do. He's in the film room. He's getting extras constantly. He'd be with Coach Hogan in the weight room constantly, you know. And then last year as a redshirt freshman, he knew he still wasn't ready. As I always say, you know, he was just kind of been in the crock pot for 2 years around here. And, you know, but he didn't have a problem with that. You know, he didn't run from that. Like, a lot of kids will run from that, you know, because they don't really want the truth. You know, and he did. And, man, this kid, I've never been more proud of a guy. This guy has worked his tail off to become the player that he is right now, and a chance to be a starter for the Tigers. Ain't nobody's giving him anything. This kid has worked his tail off, and he is one of the most respected guys on this team. And he's going to have some ups and some downs, but I'll go to battle with old Tristan Leigh any day. This guy's he's made of the right stuff. And again, his best football's in front of him, you know, but he's ready to play. He's ready to play. And, again, don't expect him to play perfect, but I expect him to be a consistent performer for us, you know, throughout the course of the year. And I'm excited to see him have the opportunity because, man, he has truly earned it in every sense of the word. And just he's what it's all about, you know. Just having that mindset. Last guy we had like that was KJ Henry. You know, KJ was you guys that have been around here, he's the first guy that ever came to me and redshirted himself in the middle of the season after he'd had 2 sacks at Wake Forest. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, we need you. And he's like, no, Coach, I am not strong enough. And if I don't get into power hour, I'm not going to be a great player here. And I'm like, so I made a deal with him. I'm like, okay, well, if nobody gets hurt, we'll do this. But all bets are off if we lose somebody, you know. And KJ was very self-aware that way. You know, didn't really compare himself to other people. That's one of the things I loved about KJ. And he just got better and better and better and better. He was a long way from a 5-star when he got here, you know, just from a physical standpoint, whether it be in the run game. He wasn't very strong, just kind of an athlete. But he left here, and now he's playing for the Commanders. I see Tristan in that same light. It's just, again, a lot of self-awareness that really wants to be coached, and then will go put the work in to do what you ask him to do to get better.
How's the team leadership different last year and this year?
Well, this team, as I've said a couple of times, this is the most accountable team we've had. And when I say that, it's a metric that we have, with our accountability teams, and you have positive points, negative points, and whatever. And this team's had, collectively, has had the fewest negative points of any team we've had. So we'll see what that means. But coming into the first game, we don't have many negative points on this team. This group has really done what they needed to do. And so that's a sign of leadership. That's a sign of accountability. And we'll see if it translates to some dubs.
You talked about, the state of college football and how there's a lot of unknowns a lot of times coming into a new season. You have to go watch a lot of different film. You guys present a lot of your own in that way, though, as well, between obviously Garrett and Cade, but then plenty of guys that didn't scratch the surface because of injuries last year or youth and coming up. Is there a level of, I just feel like as a competitor, there has to be a level of, ha ha ha, you have no idea. But I would be cackling in this moment.
I don't know about that. I just think it's just fun to go play, and it's a new team every year. And yeah, they probably know more about us, because they've got some guys in there too deep that we really hadn't seen at Duke. We don't have a bunch of those guys. Tyler Brown would be one. They've seen Adam. They've got a glimpse of Cole last year. They've seen Antonio, seen our backs. They hadn't seen Tristan much, as we just talked about. But they've seen a lot of all them D linemen. But there's always new players on both teams. Newcomers. I remember we opened up one year with, it was the year I got the job. Matter of fact, Roll Tide, right? It was Alabama. We played them in the opener, and they had a guy named, I think his name was Terrence Cody. We didn't have any idea who that guy was. We had no clue. But by the end of the first quarter, Google.com, who is this guy? He destroyed us and went on to, I think, destroy everybody that year. But so, yeah, there's always unknowns, and you kind of figure it out as you go. But I think it's just more, not as much about who we're playing and, that as opposed to just excited to see us play, and see what we can do, and then how they take it to when the lights get bright. It's different.
Trey Williams' status, is he ready?
He's doing good. He's not ready to play. He's doing really good though. He's going to be ready to play, and we're going to kind of see how it goes with him. As y'all know, that's been here. He's been through Lord have mercy. He's had both shoulders. He's had knees. He's had a little bit of everything on his body. He's dealt with, and so we're really trying to kind of take it slow with him, because we could get a year back with him, and so a lot of that depends on, again, how we perform, if we can stay healthy. At the D tackle position, we do have a little bit of depth obviously with TD and Root back, so he's going to play. And we'll be ready to play, but we're going to kind of see, and it's something we've talked about, and maybe if we can hold him as long as we can, and let's really just fortify his body and get him in a great spot, and then if we could steal a year back, that would be great for us and for him. But we don't know right now, but he's trending in the right direction. He's doing good. He's working back in practice. He's back in green now, so we'll see where he is in a few weeks.
You have a progress report on Stellana?
Yeah, hey man, he missed all of camp basically, but he's ready to roll. He's actually practiced for about the past week, I guess, and he looks good. He was having a great summer, and everything was going well there, and then he just pulled his hamstring running a deep post route one day in skills and drills, and it really just set him back. It was just bad timing for him, because he was working his way back into full progression, obviously coming off the ACL last year, but he's looked really good for a guy that hadn't played in 2 years, and a guy that's missed all of camp, he's flashed for sure. And there's no question. I mean, he could help us if he can just stay available.
Dabo, how do you capitalize on Cade's running ability while also protecting his health?
Well, he's just, a lot of that's on him. I mean, he's got to be smart, don't try to be a hero. There's times where, he's going to, protection might break down or whatever, and he's going to have to run, or get outside the pocket and maybe extends a play. Maybe the coverage is there, and so he, goes and gets 5 or 6 yards and you just get out, or get out of bounds or whatever. You don't just, you just got to be smart. And then there's times where, hey, man, it's fourth and gritty, and you got to go get it. So that's just the nature of the game. But he's got to just go play football. There's no purple jerseys when those lights come on. So you got to go play, and you can't play in fear. You got to go play the game. And again, just obviously he will run the ball some just by design, and it's just make them have to defend one of the best athletes on the field. But that doesn't mean he's running quarterback power 15 times a game. So he's a little different than Taj in those days. A little different.
Obviously, scheduling works out the way it works out, but not everybody has to open against their conference opponent. So what kind of edge does that bring to, say, the end-of-season resume when you have to face someone in your own league to start? I think it all by the time we get to that, it's what type of year did that team have, right? I mean, that's ultimately what everybody judges you on, at the end of the season. Everybody gets excited in whatever moment you're in. Teams can be, what was it, last year there were 12 preseason top 25 teams that didn't even finish ranked. So I'm sure if you played one of those games early, it was great. But by the end of the year, they're like, well, they stunk. So, I mean, that stuff will, just like if they're playing us, and if they beat us and, we have a crappy season, well, they're not going to get as much credibility later on in the year, right? So the season will determine all that stuff. But regardless of what's going to happen through the course of the season, I think anytime, you play a conference opponent in an opener, that's a tough challenge. And again, especially when you're playing a very confident, experienced, well-coached team on the road at their place on Labor Day night. There's a lot to that. And the winner of this game is going to benefit from a lot of wind in their sail. This is a huge opener for both teams and a great opportunity to get off to a good start for sure.
Adam Randall said last week one of the things that really sticks out to him about this team is how fast it is. Are there specific position groups you feel you guys are as fast as you've been in a little while?
I think we got speed everywhere. I think this is the fastest team we've had from a metric standpoint, or how we measure that. So hopefully that will translate to game day. But I think we've got speed at every position. We got receivers that can really run. We got tight ends that can run. We got running backs that can run. Our linemen are athletic and move well. Can do different things schematically with them. We got length and speed and athleticism all over the defense. So I think we've got speed across the board, really everywhere. Our linebackers run well, so we feel good about where we are athletically.
You revamped the coordinator media policy. Just what was your thinking there with Weston Garrett? How much did it talk
Just one of those things I hadn't looked at in a long time. I think the last time we had any type of media change was maybe 2010 or 11. It was just one of those things in the off season you're looking at, and it was kind of eye-opening to me that we were very different from most of our peers, if you will, and just maybe a way to take a little bit off our staff and help them a little bit, not take some time away here and there, and so that's really it. I think we're still even with the little tweak we made, I think we're probably still more accessible than most. But it was just something I felt like, looking at again our competitors that from a national standpoint all across the board, it just felt like it was
a good change.
ACC is the only conference playing all 5 days this weekend. 3 big matchups with the SEC. How much of an opportunity is this for the conference to get off to a good start?
I mean, great opportunity. I mean, for sure. Only way you change perceptions, if you will, is you got to beat people. You know, it was the perception about Clemson for a long time until we started beating people, and then had come up with something different. But you know, you can't beat people if you don't play those games, right? So that's why I was always a big proponent early on with Terry Don, like let's go play these games. We're going to win some, we'll lose some, but man, we need to play them because you know this is an opportunity to do something on the field. So you know it's a great opportunity for all the teams that get these big out of conference type openers or conference openers, you know, right out of the gate.
I know you talk a lot about winning the opener and the state championship and the closer and stuff like that, but when Eric Thomas was here, there was a video clip that came out where you said every class since 2013 has won a championship. You guys are on the clock. I guess, how often have you been that direct with teams, and why did you feel like taking that task?
I'm always direct and transparent and brutally honest with every team. I just don't let a lot of clips of me in the team meeting room get out. So I'm very transparent with our team, but it all goes back to our goals. You know, if we hit all those goals, we'll win the national championship. That's a fact. You know, I'm the reason we lost the national championship in 2015. You know, and I didn't even realize it till I came back and I got in our team room and I looked at the goals and I'm like, well, geez, this is all. I told the staff, I said, this is all on me. You know, they hit every goal we had on the board, and I'd always said since I got the job, I was like, man, like from day one, you know, it was win the opener, win the division, win the state, win the ACC, win the bowl game, right? And I always said, you know what, that's all we need to worry about. Let's quit worrying about winning a national championship and all this type of stuff. Well, you might have a great year. Maybe you don't win the national championship. I mean, you know, you just a different mindset. And I always said if we hit all those, we'll win it all. Well, we did. We hit every one of those goals. And so I came back the next year, that spring, and I apologized to the team. I said, that's on me. You know, every day you walk in here and you got these goals, and and we did all these. And so I changed it. I changed one word. Instead of win the bowl game, it was win the closer. Well, guess what? In 16, we hit every one of those, and we won the national championship. And here we are in 23. Now, we don't have a division anymore. So, you know, we win 10-plus games. You know, I think that's a huge – if you can win 10-plus games, you're going to be in the hunt as football is changing, you know, with expansion and all that stuff. So that's what we put. But the rest of the goals are the same. And if we hit all those goals, we'll win it all. But so nothing has changed. There's nothing. It was just a comment of, you know, kind of challenging some of these older. That's why they came back. I mean, these guys all got degrees. You know, a few of them got master's degrees, you know, but, you know, they want an opportunity. But if that's what you want to do, that's great. And you're on the clock for that. And you know, that class of 19, those guys, this is their last opportunity. So if you want to really go after something like that really got no guarantees attached to it, you better lock in and have a great day today, because everything's going to matter on that day. And you only get so many opportunities to play. And if everything's perfect, we get 15 in our world. So, you know, quit worrying about those 15 and let's just have a great one today. So that's just, you know, nothing is different. Nothing's changed at all. That was just a clip of a moment.
Any questions for Coach from Zoom?
Hey, Coach. Jason Priester from All Clemson Tigers. You talked about the offensive line earlier. Are you guys fully healthy on that unit? Is Walker Parks ready to go for Monday night?
Yeah, everybody's ready to go. Yeah, we feel great about the big boys in the trenches. Excited to see them play. And again, you know, I really like our depth. I think we've got some competition that will continue throughout the season, and some flexibility, some guys that can really play multiple positions. And as I said earlier, I think we got 7 guys that I consider a starter right now. But we can only run 5 out there, so we'll see how it goes.
Anyone else in the room for Coach?
I guess you talked about Cade as a runner, but in terms of his pocket presence, how did you see that develop last year, late in the year? Do you think another year older and be able to manipulate the pocket and not fail as quickly?
Yeah, it's been a growth part for him for sure. That's an area he needed to get better. Physically, he needed to get better. He's done that. And then I think just overall, just awareness, speed of the game at this level, he needed to get a little better there too. And he's got so much confidence in his ability to escape. Sometimes that can be a detriment too. Because you can hold the ball and these dudes can run, and you got a lot of guys. So just having that kind of internal clock always in his head, just being decisive, and he's been awesome. I mean, he's a decisive dude. Whether he's right or wrong, he'll pull the trigger, and I love that about him. He's kind of a whoa guy, but he's had great pocket presence. In fact, it's probably been I've had to kind of encourage him a little bit, like, hey, let's go, because he's very poised. He's demonstrated that all throughout, spring and the summer, and shown a lot of maturity. But I think a lot of it is just the game has slowed down to him. I mean, he really has an understanding and a really good grasp of, not just offense but defensive football and how people are trying to attack what we do.
After having the activity, especially last year, going to the bowl game, was he asking different questions in the spring? Did he seem like he got it even more, having had that really intense experience?
Oh yeah. Well, especially with installing a new system, and with Garrett, I think that has been really good for him because he had a good understanding of what he's been exposed to. But kind of changing some terminology and some things like that, it really forced him to spend a lot of time studying and so forth, and he gets it. I mean, this kid's played a lot of ball. I mean, he really understands. I mean, he's a natural, at the position. He's a natural for what we do, and Garrett's done a great job of just handling him. And as all those quarterbacks, I think we've got a good group. I think we've got a good room of guys that we're confident in. But Cade certainly is the leader of that group.
Who's the last whoa guy you've had to that extent? You talk about Cade.
Whoa guy?
Yeah, you said you got.
I don't know. I don't want to compare him. We'll see. We'll see how he does. But I'm excited to watch him. I think he's ready.
Anyone else for Coach? All right, thank you, Coach.
No